guys, my coffee. Hey, please don't listen to my accents. Okay, I'm gonna put on my glasses because I look bare. So I was actually sitting down to do my favorite comics of the year, like my 14 or 15 favorite comics of the year, when I realized I haven't even done a December wrap-up. And I think it's more of a last part of November to December wrap-up, because I did like catching up on what I read in the last 3 months, and I kind of folded that in the middle of the month, but I'm not sure. We're going to start with the comics, because what I did is I was at, I think, 163 books so far this year, and I wanted to meet my Goodreads goal, which was 200 books. So I just like shoved down my throat a bunch of comics, and I'm really glad I did because I'm happy I achieved it. Next year, I don't know if I'm gonna be putting a Goodreads goal at all because it was just like a bit too much, but I did read loads of great comics, so I don't regret it, but I did kind of go overboard. Let's start with the comics. So I actually read these after each other. This is Kim Reaper, the first one is Grim Beginnings, and then we have Vampire Island. These are both written by Sarah Graylie. I have mentioned on various occasions that Sarah Graylie is one of my favorite comic book writers and illustrators. I think she's a bit more of my favorite illustrator because sometimes there is like something left to be wanted from the entirety of the comics, but I still really enjoy these. They're so cute, so lovely. I love reading cute, wholesome, amazing comics. But this is about Kim, who has essentially made a deal with the Reaper, what's it called, the Death Reaper, the Grim Reaper, there we go. So she's working for him, but she's just like an intern, kind of like she's making a deal with him. So right now she's just taking care of animals who have to pass on, not humans yet. Oh, that's not what it's about, is it? It's actually about this other person. I think that's the main character. Who's the main character? Okay, I think the brunette here is the main character, and she has a crush on Kim, but she doesn't know all about this Kim Reaper stuff about Kim. So it's kind of about her falling for Kim and realizing that she has this really dangerous, kind of taboo job, and then how she deals with that. And then the next one is just a follow-up on that. It's very adventurous. It's kind of like you have to suspend your disbelief to follow the journey, but they're really cute, like kind of middle grade / maybe more young adult because of the romance part of it. Comics, the art style is incredible, I think. I really like it because obviously I love Sarah Graylie. I think I read all of her stuff now, but I thought this was really cute. I think I gave them both 4 stars. Then I finally got to volume 3 of Family Tree. I've been reading these as they have been published because they're a fairly new series by Jeff Lemire, who's written loads of famous comics. Burp. The second one was actually on my top 5 comics and graphic novels of last year, and I really loved that one. I was really shocked by it. This one, not as much. I still really liked it. I think it's gonna continue, but this world is just really interesting. The first one is about this daughter of a family who slowly starts to turn into a tree, and the parents kind of panic and try to go to all types of medical professions to figure it out. And then there's family secrets being revealed, and they kind of find out that her dad was the same way and what that means for the planet. There's definitely an underlying story about climate change and like capitalism and military systems of power and control. Really good like themes, and I really like these. Like, I think they are great, and I'm starting to realize that I like kind of action-packed comics a bit more, and I read a few that sort of dip my toes in those. But I still really recommend this series, like comic series, and I don't know why they're not more famous because they're really good. Then I also picked up A Quick and Easy Guide to Consent by Isabella Rotman. So there is this series that is called like The Quick and Easy Guide to Insert Thing, and they're always like really diverse and just very wholesome, but also has great information. There is a they, them, the quick and easy guide to they, them pronouns, and one that's a quick and easy guide to queer and trans identities. And there's also a quick and easy guide to disabled sex, I think. And I read all of those, and I think they're all great. And this was kind of a bit of a check mark, which I know is not great, because like you shouldn't really be able to read a book just because, like, say that you read this whole series. But I thought it would be nice to like complete my collection, and I think this covered all the bases. Like, it was really great in the way it talked about consent. It got like the message across. All these books I think are really great to teach in schools and have available in libraries and stuff, because they give you exactly what you need, but in a comic-y, fun style. It is black and white, and I really do wish it was color. I do enjoy that much more. Like, it includes a lot of different people in the illustrations as well as in the message that it has. I thought it was great. I gave 5 stars. There was nothing better it could have done except being color. Then I picked up this one, I Hate Fairyland by Scotty Young. I got this recommended from Ashley from Bookish Royale, and it's a pretty brutal comic following this girl who, when she's really young, she sort of is taken to Fairyland, where she has to complete this mission, like this series of tasks to find the key on her way home. And it's pretty much only supposed to take 1 day, but she's kind of a stupid child and she just never manages to do it. So she's stuck there for like 37 years or something, and she's like 40-year-old woman trapped in a children's body in Fairyland with all these like cutesy stuff, and she's like just harbored so much anger towards this because she still can't find the key, and so she still can't go home. I mean, I would be pretty fucking pissed off as well, but it's quite brutal. Like, this is an adult comic. She kills like everything in her path in Fairyland. Like, she kills the stars, and the stars are just bloody and like bony and like fleshy, and it's very gory, which is kind of like a strange combination, but I also think that's what intrigues people about this comic. I did buy the other 3 comics in this, so I'm really excited to read it, but it was a bit of a shock, the goriness of it, when I started like reading it. Then I also picked up volume 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the Lumberjanes comics. These are written by Noelle Stevenson, and I read the first one and really liked it. These are also pretty wholesome and cute and casually a bit like gay and queer, and I really love that. So the second one I think I gave 5 stars to. I really liked it. Then the third one I think was a bit of a shock for me because one of the illustrators are different, and I realized that is one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to comics, when a comic series has different illustrators, particularly in the same comic. So it starts off with them telling each other these camp stories in front of the fire, scary stories in front of the fire, and their stories are kind of illustrated in all of different illustration style, which makes sense, right? But it's just a bit annoying and it just irks me. Obviously with different illustrators as well. It's just not my taste, but I also understand the appeal. And it's obviously very easy to tell the different characters apart anyways, because they're so characteristic in how they look, but it just does take a bit of effort with your brain to know which character are which in the beginning and get used to the style, because I do like the style that they have. I think I gave the other ones like 4 stars. I am just really enjoying this series. It's really fun and action-packed, and these characters are so distinct and lovable, and they all have such a special place in my heart. Like, they feel like my friends. If you don't know, it's about these 5 girls who go to like a summer camp, Scouts summer camp for girls, and they're supposed to be earning badges and stuff, but they essentially just end up in this super weird situations with monsters and supernatural beings, and there's like plots about the history of the camp that gets intertwined. What I like about these is that each comic has a different story that kind of stands on its own, but they're also all connected, and you have to read them in order because the story does continue, but they constantly reference earlier, and sometimes the stories are like 2, 2, 2, so comic number 1 and 2 is kind of one story, and 3 and 4 is kind of one story, and the 5th one's about mermaids. And the 5th one's also about April, which I think is the character who I see myself in the most. She's very intense, and she sometimes forgets to take care, like consider other people. I relate to her a lot, especially me as a child. I was a lot like April. Let me see if I can show you these together. I then picked up, oh my god, this is turning into a mess. Okay, these are not in order anymore. I then picked up volume 2 and 3 of the Steven Universe. What are these? It's not the original series. There's a few different ones. If I know, I'll just write the name here. I thought these were fine. They do have like many different stories for each issue, and this is kind of like the collection of those issues. I mean, these volumes are always the collectibles, but these stories are all different, which is something I usually don't like in comics like these. I like it when there's one story in like one of these, or at least that they're connected a lot. So I think I give this like 3, maybe 3.5 stars. I do enjoy these because I think the characters and the stories are very accurate and on point when it comes to just another funny, enjoyable, wholesome story in the Steven universe, but they don't really add a lot. They're kind of simple. I wish they had more influence over the show and made you learn more stuff, but they don't really do that, which is a bit of a disappointment. Then I picked up Witches of Brooklyn by Stevie Elfkebas. I have been eyeing this for quite a while. It's about this girl who is an orphan, who suddenly shows up with, what's it called, it's called like the orphan services, or you know who I'm talking about. She shows up with just one person from the government who has to deliver her to some relative. And so these two of her aunts, or her aunt and her friend, who live together, has to take care of her. And she really doesn't like this. She doesn't like the 2 elder women. They just don't get along. And I really love these 2 characters of the 2 women. One of them is just kind of bitter about the fact that she now has to take care of her niece. And the other one's just like more calm and just like, everything's fine, like we'll figure it out, like you're good, we're gonna take care of you, you don't need to worry. But these characters are kind of like very distinct and opposites, but they have a great dynamic. And our main character, Effie, watching her kind of come into her new life at home and at school, and learning that her 2 aunts are witches and what that means for her. Like, I just really enjoy this. I think the art style is really cool, and I really love when comics have like an overview of how houses or rooms look inside of them. Love that. I don't know why I like that. I think it's just like really cool, and you get such a great visual. I also like the friends that she made at school, the message it has. Yeah, I just really liked all of this. I think it's a huge missed opportunity not to make these 2 aunts gay. Listen, I love 2 older women being best friends and living together, but I really wish they were gay, okay? Like, there's nothing wrong with the first scenario, which is this book, but if you want just a friendship between women, a family full of just women, check this out with witches. It's very cute. I loved it a lot. Then I picked up this one, Jonna and the Unpossible Monsters. This is just what I picked up in the comic book store because I think it looked really cute, and the art style is really great. And it's kind of like a graphic novel that looks like a comic in a way, so it's very short. This takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where there are kind of like these dinosaurs and stuff, and it's kind of fantasy-ish, but you follow the Jonna's sister, who lost Jonna and her father a year ago or something, and ever since then she's been looking for Jonna and her father. I don't know if the comet hit or something, but something happened and they split up. The world is in shambles. There are groups of humans kind of trying to survive at all these different places. And in this, Jonna's sister finds Jonna, and Jonna is a special character. She has some sort of like really strong legs that make her jump. She doesn't really speak. We don't know much about her, but I enjoyed it. I think this story has a lot of potential. The biggest con I have in this is that it's very short, so I feel like we just get introduced to the story. And this little tiny graphic novel has chapters. I hate that. It's frustrating. I really wish, first off, it didn't have chapters, and second off, that it was combined with whatever the second volume was gonna be, because the story felt just like so brief, and I just got into it and then the story was over, which is really sad because I think I'll love this once I read the entire series, but it is sort of a new release, so I don't blame it for that, but I think it could have been smarter published. Then I also picked up these comics, Heavy Venom 1 and 2. So these are the only two that are out, but I think there will be more because this did have kind of an open ending. I gave the first one 5 stars and the second one 4 stars. I didn't love it as much, but you're following our main character who gets to work at this Venom store that she's always wanted to, and she learns a little bit of the secrets of the store, and these women are all like so kick-ass. This is also like such a lesbian comic, like such a women love women story. Like I think more than half, there's only one straight relationship. All the other relationships are sapphic, which is really refreshing. I liked it a lot. I think it takes place in the 90s or 80s. I think 90s. Pretty sure it's 90s. But I do really recommend these. These are really fun. And there is some side kind of like technology, conspiracy things. And there's like some fighting. And it kind of takes off after you meet these characters. And I recommend this a lot. This is really fun. Then I randomly picked up Brave Chef Brianna by Sam Sykes. Sam Sykes? That sounds familiar. This follows Brianna. She has like a ton of brothers, like 7+, I don't know how many others, a ton of brothers. And her father's about to die, and her father is very known for being like one of those TV chefs. And he says that you all get 1 month to start your own restaurant or cafe or something in any city. They all have to be different cities, like for each sibling. And the one who has the most successful restaurant or cafe will inherit our restaurant, which is the famous restaurant. So they all go out in the world and try to make this happen. Brianna is the only woman out of all of them, or daughter. So she ends up in Monster City, which is a city full of, why does it get like less and less comfortable to sit in a bean chair? Do you hear that? That's my chest. I don't know why it does that. So she ends up in Monster City, but monsters don't really eat human food. And so she's really struggling, but it was the only place she could afford because it was the cheapest place. So it is a cool premise. I think it's a very cool premise. The problem is that Brianna, she kind of spends the entirety of the book very angry and bitter. And I wish there was more exploration as to her figuring out those feelings and why she has them, because it was very like difficult to read about and kind of just annoying. She's kind of mean to the people around her just because she's stressed, and I wish she would have come to more realizations and that the story was more about like her personal journey rather than the plot. And I also didn't like that the art style at all. I don't like that it's very different from the cover. I kind of want the cover to be the same art style as inside, at least like similar, you know. But then I picked up this one, which I really, really loved. This is Alice from Dream to Dream by actually a couple, which I think is really cool. One illustrator and one writer who's made this together. I love that. But this follows Alice as she moves back to her birth town or hometown after living in a different city, and she gets like a stronger connection with her old best friend. But she has this huge issue where she basically falls into the dream of her brother. She's sharing a room with her brother, and when she does like sleep next to him, she has his dreams, and he dreams like horror stuff, and she keeps telling him to stop watching like those horrible thriller movies because it influences his dreams and she has to live in them. But she kind of keeps this a secret and doesn't tell anyone. I really liked how that part of the story got incorporated into the relationship with her best friend. I like the setting. I like the secrets we learn about her family that were revealed later on. I love the resolution. This was kind of like a short, cute, perfect, I think, graphic novel comic. The art style is really good. I liked it like a lot. I highly recommend this one. I thought it was fantastic. It's just kind of perfect, and it's also by Boombox Comics, who have been making some of my favorite comics this year. Oh my god, I'm only halfway through the comics. I'm gonna try to speed this up because I'm exhausted already. Tithe Song by Wendy Xu. Wendy Xu is the illustrator of Moon Cakes, which is quite famous. It's kind of like a, I want to see Chinese-inspired fantasy. It's about our main character, Sophie, who lives on an island with a magic academy, and she's not good at magic, so she's really struggling, and she really doesn't want to do the type of magic that they teach, and they're very strict, and they try to like keep her in a box, but she's just such a free soul and wants to do different kinds of magic. The magic that she teaches is very strategic and slow, and she's like, no, I can do this on my own. I don't need you. I'm a powerful witch. And so she goes out of her way and makes really stupid choices just to defy the academy and her family, which obviously ends up blowing up in her face. I thought this was really good. The art style is really cute, and I love the magic with the oceans and stuff. I thought that was really cool. I think if you liked Witch Boy, you probably like this as well as Molly Knox's other books, The Girl from the Sea or In the Sea. Probably like this one too. They have a lot of similar elements, but I liked it. I thought it was cute. It's kind of like a regular middle grade cute graphic novel. I've been reading a lot of those, and they all just sort of blur in my mind, and I realize they're very similar when it comes to plot and structure and characters and motifs. So it's becoming a bit difficult for me to like say why they're different from each other rather than like very specific plot. But this was good. It was nice. I then picked up Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Promise. This is actually kind of a part 1 of 3, so there is certain volumes where you can get them all together, which I do recommend, but I haven't read 2 and 3 yet, so we're not talking about those. I was actually surprised at how good this is. It takes place after the Avatar: The Last Airbender series, and it does like just continue the story, to be honest, and I thought it was gonna be very different from the show, and maybe I had pretty low standards of how good it was gonna like continue the story of the same characters, how it was gonna make sense for the world, but it does, and it was actually really good, and I'm really excited to continue with these now because I do know they get fairly low ratings, but I thought it was accurate to the show, which is the most important part with comics that are from a TV show or related to a TV show, in my opinion. Then we picked up Be Gay, Do Comics. This is a non-fiction queer comic anthology, so there's loads of different comic writers and illustrators who do like really small comics in here, and they're all queer related in one way or another. I enjoyed these. A lot of them are really funny. A lot of them teach you quite a lot of queer history, to be honest. Like, this is a great way of learning a lot of queer history, and also very specific queer history in different countries in the world about a certain person who did a lot for queer rights in that country or during a certain time, things I didn't know about, and I really loved learning those things. I will say this is quite thick, and I am maybe used to reading shorter graphic novels and comics, but this was a great read. I did probably give it 3-4 stars because I think it could have done more, perhaps, and some of them are a bit slow, and few of the comic illustrators do have several comics, and maybe I wish there was more queer comic creators, but maybe that was outside of the power of the creators of this, but it was nice, and I liked it, and as someone who likes to do short comics, like, this is pretty much me. Like, I want to do queer mini comics, and I thought this was great inspiration. Then I read the entirety of this series. This is, what was it called? Wait, where are we? Witch Boy, the first one, and then The Hidden Witch, and then The Midwinter Witch. I really loved it. I gave the first one 5 stars and the last one 5 stars, and the one in the middle was a bit more meh, but I gave it 4 stars. I think the series deserves the hype. I really liked it. I think it's such a lovely series. Like, all of these books together make so much sense. They all have their individual story, and thank you so much to the person who told me that I needed to read these in order, because you 100% do, and I really appreciate that. I'm glad I got the first 2 before I read Midwinter Witch, because I wanted to read this during the winter. These were also great. It's about this witch boy, or this boy who, in this world, the men are shapeshifters and the women are witches, and this boy wants to do magic, and he's actually quite good at it. So he sneaks in to the girls' lesson and tries to pick up on the lessons there, but it's very taboo. It doesn't happen often, but he fights for what he wants, and it's kind of his story with his community, his friends, his mom, who are all trying to support him, but thinks this is like quite strange. And this whole series can be a huge analogy for just like queerness, perhaps, transness. There is a huge Hi, just editing here, Will, to mention how there is a little screen of them watching Steven Universe right at the very end of The Witch Boy, which just is maybe why I gave 5 stars. So excited. Focus on gender because of these specific gender roles, but there's also family secrets revealed that tell him he's not the only one, and the power that he has if he lives his truth to inspire other people who feel the same way. I think it's so cute, and it does exactly what it's supposed to do. Highly recommend it. Then I randomly picked up this one. I randomly picked up these because I just think they look cute. This is The Wizard and the Potion of Dreams. This is such a silly comic. I highly recommend it. You're following this witch who is kind of been secluded in a tower for a very long time, and this little boy who's a prince, I think he's like, I don't know, 7th or 4th or something to the throne, but he wants to be the biggest, strongest, so he can inherit the throne, but he's just like a little boy. So he seeks out this witch so that she can do a spell to make him big and strong. But she's like, I just want to be in my tower, leave me alone. I don't even want to know what to do. I know how to do this. It's going to be so excessive. But he convinces her, and they have to go out to find all these different ingredients to be able to make this potion that will allow them to make one wish. They also meet this other character who is also very kick-ass. I might have said she for the witch, but the witch is non-binary. This is a they, them witch. Wow, I really mess up sometimes. But the art is so cute, and it has these like, I will put up some pictures right now of the art. It has these beautiful full spreads where there's so many details to be discovered. I love, love, love this art style. I love the colors. I love the roundness of the illustration. It is so silly, and the jokes are so silly, but it's just such a joy. I also found this one quite randomly, Life of Melody by Marie Costa, at my local science fiction bookstore back home in Sweden when I was there. This is, I believe, translated from Italian. You follow this one elf and this other troll creature who at the same time finds a kid, a little baby, a little girl in the forest all alone, and they both want to be her dad, but they just can't decide who's going to take care of her, and so they decide to co-parent, but they don't know each other, and they do hate each other from the start. But of course, this is a hate to love romance, so it's about the progression of these two men from two different magical species trying to live together with a child because of the child. And so the book is kind of divided into chapters of the ages that Melody is in. So it is called Life of Melody, but it's not really about Melody. It's about the relationship of the parents. This is really cute. I highly recommend it if you haven't read it. The art style is really amazing. It's really colorful. And I really liked how the hate to love romance was done. I really liked it. Highly recommend. I know I'm like throwing at you so many recommendations, but I just can't help myself because these are truly really, really good. Another good one, Gert and the Sacred Stones. This is actually also translated from Italian, I believe. Let me check. I can't tell, but the language sounds a bit Italian. This is also such a beautiful fantasy, kind of inspired by medieval times story. I really enjoyed it. It's so cute. I do have some issues with it, but mostly story-wise, the art style is like very stunning. I love it a lot. The story starts with Gert and her mother being attacked by this giant beast who ends up killing her mother. And then after that, she's kind of taking care of herself, and the council of people who kind of rule her city are quite sexist. They don't really like her mother. They always say like, oh, you're just like your mother, when she does like something more holistic. The men are very like burly and yeah, dominant in this world. And then there's also like these different magical creatures, but she essentially wants to be part of the society, and the young men in this village, they get the chance to find the young men get the chance to find these sacred stones to basically be part of the fighters of this town. And she decides to do it even though she can't and she's not told to, but she takes it on anyways, and she meets all these people along the way. It's a very complex story. It's just like all these pieces just fall together, and I think the world building is excellent. It's developed very organically, easy to understand, even though it's very complex. Not very complex, it's a little bit complex, especially to be kind of like a young adult middle grade. The friendships between like different species and animals and humans are very beautiful and cute in this. I like the resolution. I like where the story goes. It's such a great message. I will say my biggest con for this is that the motivations of the characters, I feel, are not always clear. And I do wish that the reasons why people did stuff was like more in depth and better explained, because I can assume a lot of stuff, but I kind of wish that the story would have taken some time to talk about them as well. I also read all 3 volumes of Bitterroot by Walker, Brown, Green, Dodgson, Osmain, Elahu. These are just 2 and 3, but on the Discord for this book club, which I don't remember the name of, but Ashley from Bookish Riam started, where we read like comics every single month. I still haven't watched a live show for this because I've just been like so busy, but I'm really excited to watch it. The kindest person on the Discord actually like gave me their login for a library where they could read the first volume online. Like, I don't even know this person, and they just gave me like their passcode and access to like their entire library, and I was just like, wow, people are trusting and kind out there. And I was truly amazed by this person's generosity, because I don't know if I would have like done the same to someone I didn't know at all. But that way I was able to read the first volume because I couldn't get my hands on it. The live show was actually 2 a.m. my time. That's why I didn't end up watching it. But this is great. These comics are so good. I like these a lot. They're very unique. There is a specific word for this type of literature. Conjure punk, perhaps. This story takes place in the 1910s and 1920s in like San Francisco, Harlem, and somewhere in the South. It does jump between like different time periods. I don't think it's so confusing if you don't follow the timeline so much, like if you don't keep track on the times, it's okay. It's really okay. You can understand everything pretty much anyways. But you follow this family who is called the Sangreas, and they basically kill these creatures called Geno. And Geno are essentially white people who are so consumed with hate for specifically from racism that they become Genos, or this vicious creatures who just like attack people. And they have this antidote, the Sangreas they have created, to cure this or to kill them if it doesn't work. So you follow the Sangria family in different stages of life where it's a complex story. I don't know how to exactly say it. They're dynamic and the characters are very cool and I love following them. the story is so unique because it has this sort of, it's like a historical fiction, but with magical realism, and it uses this element of the creatures to talk about racism at this time and with like a different lens. It's also really interesting how the Black people, or I think maybe generally people of color in the story, when they had too much grief, they would also become a creature that wasn't exactly themselves. And so there is so much like metaphor and really intelligent world building and conversations in this. I highly recommend this series. It's super action packed. My favorite part of this series is the artwork, and specifically the coloring. Like the coloring of the spreads are so stunning. I was so impressed. I've never seen anything like it. It's very similar of like regular comic book style, but the colors are amazing. Who is the colorist? I think it is Green who did the color. I believe she was only like a part-time colorist or whatever, but good job. That was, I think it's just so beautiful, the way the colors harmonize on the page. At the back of each volume, there are like maybe 20 essays, like a lot of essays that academics have made about Bitterroot and the context of Black history and viewing history from a different lens. Like they all have a different point of view on Bitterroot, which makes the story so much richer and amazing. Like this is very impressive, I think. And I have to be honest to say that I didn't read all the essays in the back because they are quite heavy and quite academic, I think. But I do recommend reading at least some of them. I think I perhaps read like 4 or 5 with every volume. I couldn't stomach reading all of them because they're just a lot, but they're very great, and I'm very glad they exist in the back. So highly recommend this series. I think I give the first one 5 stars and these two 4 stars. I think it is complete. The ending of the third one is interesting, and I kind of liked it. Then I finally got my hands on an Adventure Time comic. My goal this year was to finish this whole series, but it's not possible because of how difficult it is to get a hold of these comics. I am sorry if you want to read them, and I do get comments quite a lot asking how'd you get hold of them. I can't really help you. You just have to, 1, be willing to pay, which is unfortunate, and 2, look at literally every site, everywhere, try to find them secondhand, consider everything, because it is like just not fun if you're outside of the US. If you're in the US, you can just probably go to the store and buy them. But the rest of the world are not that fortunate. But I finally got to reading number 12. This one's called BMO World because this is a one complete story. There's not many stories in here. I like that. The book starts with Finn and Jake being in this sort of cowboy world, and you don't know why they are there, but then they realize that they're like, this isn't where we usually are. Why is this? And then they come up with the conclusion that this is a world that BMO's created, but why have they created it? And so if finally you see them trying to get out of this world, blah, blah, blah. It's a fun Adventure Time story. I think these Adventure Time comics are always really creative. I like them a lot. I like that this one was one full story. I like the twists and turns. I thought it was really fun, honestly. Just fun. A lot of fun. There's nothing more I can say about these. They're not deep. If you like Adventure Time, these comics are probably the best that I've ever seen of any series or animated series that I've watched and then read the comics of. Like, this is the best job, or these are great. But I'm very excited I finally got into it again, and then I can maybe continue. I do have 13 and 14 now, and 16. So I'm only missing 15 and 17, and then I can complete them. But yeah, I actually think I'm going to end the video here. It was not the plan, because it's late and I really need to hurry, and I did talk way too in-depth about that. But if you're interested in comics, then hopefully you're here anyways. I will talk about these books in another video, so look out for that. I don't know why I thought I could make a short video. Let me know if you're interested in reading any of these, and please give me some like comics and graphic novel recommendations. that you've really enjoyed this year. I would appreciate that a lot. I hope you have an amazing, brilliant day. I'm sending y'all so much love, and I'll talk to all of you soon. Bye!